Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Today we're going to talk about a number of headlines directly and indirectly related to Bible prophecy. So let's dive right in. The first headline I want to bring to your attention today is this one from the U.S. Sun. And it's titled, China Convinced It Needs to Hit U.S. with Pearl Harbor Style Surprise Attack to Win War Over Taiwan. Expert warns. China is convinced it now needs to hit America hard and early in a surprise Pearl Harbor-style attack to invade Taiwan, a leading expert has warned. Oriana Schuyler Mastro, a fellow at Stanford University, told The Sun Online how Beijing increasingly views an invasion of the island as inseparable from a war with the U.S. She explained that Beijing now believes it also has to fight the U.S. if it is to fulfill its long-cherished goal of invading Taiwan and reuniting with the mainland. Mastro believes the most likely way such a conflict would play out is with a Pearl Harbor-style attack on U.S. forces in the region. It would be designed to try and knock out U.S. forces so they could not react to stop China gaining a foothold in Taiwan, which it regards as its territory. The strategic gamble would be an attempt to stall a wider war, just as Japan hoped when they attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, drawing the U.S. into World War II. It would be one of the chilling factors China would have to weigh up if it decides the only way to reunification with Taiwan is an invasion. So they go on through this article and they provide some interview quotes from this expert from Stanford University who has relationships with top-level Chinese officials, and she is convinced that this is the line of thinking that they're engaged in. Now, could this be? If this were to occur, I cannot imagine a scenario where the American people would just sit back and not demand an immediate response. And if such attack were to happen and be successful and take out a number of U.S. military assets in the Pacific, the only way to respond may well be with a nuclear attack. And then you have a nuclear war between China and the United States. And who knows how that ends? Could that be why Bible prophecy doesn't speak to China and the United States as being superpowers in the end times? Could be. I don't know. My thought is I think this is highly unlikely. We still live in an era of mutual assured destruction. We are not yet in that post-Mad era where something like this would happen. So what is going to happen? I think a much more likely scenario is found in this article from Zero Hedge. This headline is titled, China Extends Taiwan Drills Past Sunday Deadline, says training under real-world conditions. Now, we had talked about this previously in a I think on Friday, and I had said at that time, I think that they will probably likely extend these drills, and that's exactly what's happened. So let's see what this says. It says, China's military drills in 6 zones surrounding Taiwan were scheduled to wind down and end on Sunday. But on Monday, Beijing announced it is extending the threatening military drills which Taipei officials have slammed as a blockade and simulation for future invasion. The drills were originally set for 4 days, but have now been extended into this new week. Not only have the drills launched in the wake of the last Tuesday and Wednesday visit of the self-ruled island of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, disrupting surrounding air traffic and shipping lanes key to global trade, but they've upped tensions with Washington, given the USS Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group was ordered to stay in waters near Taiwan for longer than planned. Now that's the key, as we want to come back to this sentence, where it says, disruption of air traffic and shipping lanes key to global trade. I brought this up last week when they first did this, and we went over that graphic where these drills surrounded the entire island of Taiwan. And I said at that time, what is most likely, are they going to carry on these drills for just 5 days as they had originally stated, or will this go on much longer? Are they going to allow air traffic? Are they going to allow inbound and outbound maritime traffic? Could this be a form of siege warfare that China is adopting, where they try to cut off and strangle the supply lines around Taiwan, which would not only impact Taiwan and weaken them for a future invasion, but it also weakens the United States and the Western financial world, because ultimately the supply chain, Taiwan is a key part of that supply chain, with over 60% of the world's computer chips being manufactured in Taiwan, and they're used in devices that are used every day by the Western powers. So this is potentially what's happening here with China. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll see what happens in the future. Now on to the next headline. This one's from CNN. It says, ceasefire between Israel, Gaza militants holds after deadliest clashes in a year. A ceasefire between Israel and the Islamic Jihad militant group in Gaza was holding on Monday after a weekend of hostilities left dozens of Palestinians dead. The truce, announced on Sunday evening by both sides, came about 50 hours after the escalation began, when Israel launched what it called preemptive strikes on targets of the Islamic Jihad militant group in Gaza. The escalation was the most serious in nearly 15 months, when the Israeli military and Hamas fought an 11-day war in May 2021. A key difference this time was the decision by Hamas to stay out of the fighting. Its statements blamed Israel for the escalation, but consistently stopped short of threatening attacks and retaliation. Now, on the cusp of these several days that this took place, Islamic Jihad sent over 1,100 rockets out of Gaza into Israel. From what I read, there was about a 96% success rate with the Iron Dome missile defense system and taking care of those, striking those down. The casualties were much worse on the retaliation, the strikes into Gaza by Israel. So what does this mean? Does this have prophetic significance? We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure that it does. The only way that I could see the super prophetic significance to this would be if this escalates into a wider regional war that results in the destruction of Damascus as outlined in Isaiah 17, or the Gog of Magog invasion from Ezekiel 38-39. We'll have to wait and see. Until then, I think this is more of an ongoing general sign of the hostility of Israel's neighbors as outlined in Psalm 83, Ezekiel 11, and Ezekiel 35. There's passages all throughout the Bible that talk about in the last days, Israel's neighbors will have an aggressive stance toward them. They will say, come, let us take the land. It's ours. Let's wipe them from the face of the map. We'll go and take their land. We don't care if their God is there. So there's multiple references to the enemies surrounding Israel in the last times. So this is just one of those general indications, I believe, for now, unless it erupts into a greater conflict. So this is another one that we'll keep our eye on. I want to draw your attention to this. If you aren't signed up to the End Times Bible Prophecy newsletter, it's a free newsletter. There's a link in the description. Now, why do I bring this up? There's several reasons. One, I have this free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. So if you want to learn more about the signs of the end times, that is a free ebook that's only available to people that subscribe to the newsletter. Number 2, we live in an era of big tech corporate censorship. And any day now, I may say something that makes one of these videos come off of the platform. The channel could be canceled. Who knows? So, excuse me, you need to make sure that you're signed up, make sure that we can talk to each other. Give me just a moment. Because if there is a cutoff, if I'm deplatformed from any of the different platforms that I'm on now, this is a guaranteed way that I'll be able to reach you and still be able to send these videos out. So if you sign up for this, I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell your email address, anything like that. You'll get updates by email when these videos come out. And once a month, I send a larger article that dives into a topic of Bible prophecy more in depth. That's it. So if you want to sign up for that, links in the description. Go ahead and do that. On to the next piece of news. This is from Wall Street Silver, and I think this is a piece of news that is going under the radar, unnoticed by a whole lot of people. We covered this already in a video titled, "Has World War III Already Started?" That came out last week. And if you watch that video, you note that I stated in that I think the chief aim of Vladimir Putin and the Russia-China alliance is to destroy the Western financial system. You've got this paper fiat system that is really teetering on the brink of collapse. And Russia and China are manufacturing real goods. They're mining real materials, metals, oil, all these fossil fuels that we see coming out of Russia, and they want to get paid in real terms financially. So they're trying to create this bifurcated world economic system that allows them to step outside of the Western financial system, where the United States and Europe can just print currency in exchange for the real items that are being supplied by these countries. And so one of those, in the cusp of that, I talked about Vladimir Putin has this nuclear option from a financial standpoint, where he could come out as the world's low-cost producer of oil and simply say, I will take I'll trade 100, 200, 1,000 barrels of oil for an ounce of gold. And if he did that, either we would have to suppress the price of gold in the Western financial system, which would destroy the domestic oil industry of the Western powers overnight, or we would have to allow that gold to free float to its true price, which would expose the fiat currency system for the fraud that it is, that it's all just paper, that it's being printed, it's losing its purchasing power over time. And what would happen is all of that gold and silver would be sucked out of the system. So if he did that, the real gold would go to Russia, it would go to China, it would leave the Western financial system, and we would be exposed as bankrupt in the West. So we're already seeing the beginnings of that here. This says, breaking silver inventories held in the London Bullion Market Association London vaults fall by 4.7% in July, at their lowest level since July 2016. Silver holdings now total 950.9 million ounces. And here's the key. It says in 13 months, the LBMA vaults have been drained of 230 million ounces of silver, completely out of the vault, or an average of 18,000 ounces per month. However, in the last 4 months, so that takes us back to around the time that the war in Ukraine started, the pace has accelerated to 40 million ounces per month, right? So this is being sucked out of the system, and at the same time, on the gold standpoint, I think it's 1.2 million tons of gold have left the vaults. So what is happening? This is going to come to a head. It's a financial war that's taking place. And right now, the Western powers are losing that war. And there's going to come a time when this whole paper charade gets exposed. Right now, the Western financial system uses these paper contracts to trade gold and silver, as well as agricultural products, all sorts of commodities. And we're going to find in the months ahead that, like a game of musical chairs, they have more contracts than they have actual real goods backing those contracts. And when people demand the real goods, thinking that they have a contract and that they own it, they're going to find out very quickly that they don't, that multiple people have been sold the same corn, the same soybeans, the same wheat, the same silver, the same gold, the same oil, and this paper system is going to collapse, and it's going to bring the Western financial system along with it. So this is one we're definitely keeping our eyes on. On to this next story. This is from Zero Hedge. It says firearm companies say packages shipped with UPS being damaged and disappearing. A number of firearm companies have seen their shipments with UPS become damaged or go missing while en route to customers, while others have allegedly had their corporate accounts canceled by the parcel service, according to a report by Bearing Arms, a pro-Second Amendment news site. Patrick Collins, CEO of the Gun Food, an ammunition supply company, told the news outlet that many packages his business had shipped via UPS have mysteriously vanished in transit. Specifically, Collins alleged that out of 18,000 rounds of ammunition that he's shipped, only around a third, roughly 6,000, were actually delivered. And this goes on, it says, Bearing Arms also pointed to recent reports that a large number of firearm companies have claimed to have had their UPS accounts canceled by the company, and that packages that were currently in the UPS system were potentially being seized and destroyed. In a letter sent to one Florida gun dealer, UPS allegedly said they were terminating the account because they may be violating laws concerning homemade firearm parts or ghost guns. The owner of Ghost Firearms told the Second Amendment Foundation that UPS allegedly informed him in a letter that all scheduled pickups would be canceled and that he would not be allowed to reopen another UPS account or ship anything from a UPS store or website. Zatar claimed that prior to receiving the letter, he had recently shipped out more than $30,000 worth of products, and the company warned him that any packages that were found in the UPS system determined to have been tendered by his company may be seized and destroyed. We do not ship to states where they're not allowed, he told the outlet. We are in total compliance. We had ATF in here just 2 weeks ago, and they told us we were completely legal. So what's going on here, guys? Hopefully, this is a case of a few companies that maybe were sloppy in their following of the regulations that UPS had made clear and has been using for years in the past. I certainly hope that's the case. But we are definitely seeing instances where corporations are imposing their ideology on companies and individuals that they don't agree with. And this very well may be one of those cases. Now, why is that concerning? Well, in the past, when we've seen corporate power and state power merge, that has a specific name. I don't know if I can even call it out without having the corporate big tech censors come in and take this down. But there's a definition for that. And you go back to the 1920s and 30s, there were several governments that instituted that type of regime where you had corporate power and state power merged together, imposing an ideology on the population. And we're seeing that today. We've seen it in Canada, where banks have cut off the accounts of protesters at the government's behest. We've seen it here in the United States, where social media companies are colluding with the government to stop, quote, disinformation and misinformation, talk of a ministry of truth, all to a collusion between the government and corporate power. We've seen this in a number of places with, if you don't comply with the government mandates, then you may not be employed anymore. So we're seeing this merger of corporate and state power, and that is not freedom and liberty friendly. It means that totalitarian government is coming. At least if we continue on this trend and the way that we're going, and the Bible makes it clear that that trend, it may go up and down or wane here in the months and years ahead, whatever, but eventually we're going to have a global totalitarian government. Revelation 13 makes that clear. The Antichrist is going to control that, and he's going to control that through the use of government power, but also corporate power, where once we lose that freedom and liberty, it's gone forever. Because in this age of advanced technology, we went over in a previous video where there are drones that can follow you through the woods, and they can move a lot faster than you can run, and you can't get away from all of them. We've gone through in the past how big tech can see everything you're doing. They know who all of your friends are through Facebook. They know who you're talking to through your communication devices. They know what websites you're looking at. They know everything. So if we lose freedom and liberty, it's gone forever. And that's what the Bible tells us will eventually happen. So, guys, what do you think? Leave your comments below. Like and share this. Thanks for spending time with us today, and God willing, we'll talk tomorrow. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter and get your copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Just follow the link in the description to get your free book. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Britt on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.